Well, welcome back to my Ford Transit Mk8 campervan build. And this is going to be part 3 of the insulation and vapour barrier and battening video set, and hopefully the last one of that set. This time I'm going to be sorting out the insulation behind these inserts. So sort of these recesses here, getting at least 50mm of the PRI board insulation behind it, and get those mounted in and screwed in. And that should finish off the insulation. Right, let's start. So more or less these inserts which I've made slide into these recesses. They're quite snug to get in, but that gives me about, per box, about an extra 90mm, and across the bed section of the van that's enough to make it a full width bed. But I still want some insulation behind it, so I'm going to use some more of the board to sort of insulate the panel behind it. So the general plan, cut them out to fit into these recesses, and then probably one large sheet just to go over the top. So my plan is just to use the really strong double-sided tape to hold them in, and then put the next layer on top. Then it's just going to be sandwiched in place with the board, so they shouldn't really go anywhere. This should be a perfectly adequate method for applying this to the wall. You see quite a lot of people using stick pins, which are like a big pin which you just stick on and then press it onto. I guess which has got less area to stick to, but they're also quite expensive, so it's going to be probably to buy them. Let go. Alright, that's the first layer. Second layer is a bigger piece. I wasn't too worried about having these cut perfectly fit the angles. There's so many weird and wonderful angles in there. There'd be no point of trying to cut these boards. It would be a real pain. So I'm just going to use more of the plastic roof insulation just to stuff it into those sort of crevices there. So I do need to get these boxes in, and what I do know is that it does taper in at the front a little bit, so I do envision that it's not going to be a perfect fit anymore, and I might have to figure out some ways to fix it. Let's just do a test fitting. Right, next attempt, and we've had a few minutes with an electric sander. Slight unforeseen issue. Can I stuck the double-sided tape directly to the van's metalwork? You can see here where actually it's warped the metal slightly because that double-sided tape is pulling quite hard on that insulation which is bent. So I might rethink it and take it off the van's metalwork, just so I don't have this bend in my van on the outside. This double-sided tape is quite strong, so yeah, luckily There were 4 dents. Now there's only 2 because I've taken 2 of them out. So it is undoing those deformities in the panel. I mean, it's not budging stuff, it's hard stuff. Right, the external dents are now undone, which is good. And I'm going to do it a slightly different way. So I'm going to mount what's left of these panels after I remove this to the back of the box, and I'm just going to put a big old sheet of roof insulation, the squishy stuff, in here, so that can then be slightly compressed, and then have this on top of it. So this stuff should be identical to this stuff, it's just for some reason they changed the colour. Right, we've got this mounted to the back of it. I mean, don't worry about all the raw edges, because the vapour barrier isn't here, the vapour barrier is going to be around the edge. So no moisture will be able to get through the back of it. And we're going to put some of the silver bubble wrap foil on the inside of these as well. So here's some examples of some test fits of the panels in. I did quite a bit of sanding to get them to fit. They weren't fitting as well from when I did the backing. But I did have to, I make a middle oversight, I had to take a little notch out the corner just because there's a bit of metal here in the van. This is fine because this here is probably actually going to be the bed level, so there's going to be an additional sort of layer put into this where that's going to be the bed, so you'll never actually see these corners. And I might run some of the wires through here. So I've gone back and forth so many times now on what insulation I'm going to do behind it, and decided that I'm not going to put any of this board behind it, because although I add extra insulation because of the board, the amount it's compressing the roof insulation in there, I'm going to lose thermal and insulation properties that way. So I've just gone for, I think it's going to be more effective to have that uncompressed behind than having these boards in. So I'm just going to add a little batten to the back of these just to give them a little bit extra support if someone leans back against them. So I'm hoping this extra 2.5 mil on the back doesn't interfere. I'm also running one of my conduits out the bottom corner as well. Right. Right, might need to do a little bit of work. Okay, this should fit actually. Just might need some persuasion. Oh yeah, I think the conduit pipe goes. So I'm just going to do one side and then adjust that side and do there. If I had 2 sets of hands, or if I had some wider clamps, I would probably push it in evenly and do it. So it's not completely flush at this end, but I don't want to force it any further. I don't want this entire They always have loads of force on the back of it, potentially pulling on all my fixing points in here. Reflective material to do the vapor barrier for my inserts. To be honest, like, these are pretty sealed vapor wires with the wood glue used, but they're still wood, so they are porous, and I don't want in the future, if one of my water pipes is slightly leaking or I spill a drink, for liquid to be able to run down here and soak into the wood. I'd rather it sat on a waterproof layer and then dried out that way. So I'm going to be mounting some of this as just sort of the vapor barrier, and then seal it around the edges as well. Once again with double-sided tape. All of these offcuts and making these all nice and flat on the edge worked pretty well as finishing off my vapor barrier up the top end, joining the wall and the roof together. Is good. Well, that finishes up this video, this section of insulating and battening the walls of the van. I've now more or less got a vapor barrier going all the way from the floor up to the roof, where it's sealed between the vapor barrier on the wall and then the ceiling, and giving me my complete vapor barrier to stop any sort of that moist air that I'm breathing whilst I'm in the van getting in and behind the insulation. There's a few little bits I need to fill in here and there. I need to wait for some more Ford tape to turn up. And although it was quite a bit of hard work getting these inserts made just to give me that little bit extra width, I'm pretty glad I've done them. I think in the long term that extra bit of space is going to be quite nice in the van. So I need to tape up the edges of these, and I'm going to have to fit the final insert after I get one of the windows fitted, but I'll do that another time off camera. But once again, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.